events there are in the world. But
I got one for you. How about the 3 days leading up to the draft?
Oh, even
all
better.
The ridiculous rumors, all the lies, or especially like within the 24 hours of the draft, all the leaks that happen. Like, oh yeah, this guy beat up this person's grandmother at Thanksgiving dinner. It's like, oh my God, he just fell out of the first draft. Dude, I think the 3 days leading up to the draft are the best and everyone gets to be an expert too.
Right.
Everyone just gets to speculate. Everyone gets to like make their own mock drafts. It's almost like making a bracket, but like
it really is.
You don't really bet on it, so you're truly losing nothing. And you get to say, hey, I called it when, you know, your team lands whoever at pick 11 or whatever. And if they don't, then no one's going to ask you. It's not like a bracket after all. So
you know what, Matt? That right there is why it doesn't matter what predictions anyone has for the draft in the first, like, 2 days of the draft.
It's great.
Real ball knowers, they have to be able to hit on their team's 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th round picks.
That's true. That is you should get a certificate in the mail from the ball knowing committee if you are banging out a mock draft that goes into day 3.
100%.
Yeah.
Trophy from the committee for validation.
100 trillion %.
100%.
We gonna hear any Spartan names, you think?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, we should talk about it, shouldn't we?
Sounds like a good idea.
Let's go. Let's get it popping.
So it seems like from looking around at all the various mocks, there are 2 Spartans that should be bona fide draft selections this year. Really no question about it, and those are Jaden Reed and Bryce Behringer. Jaden Reed in a lot of mocks in that 3rd round range.
Yep.
Bryce Behringer anywhere from late 4th to 7th.
Sure.
I think Dane Brugler from The Athletic, he's kind of the draft analyst that I gravitate towards the most. He has Jaden Reed 80th, so squarely in the 3rd round. And then Bryce Behringer 210th.
Okay.
I believe that is 6th round?
Yes, that would be.
Something like that.
I'll take your word for it. If we say it with enough confidence.
We could divide it by 32. And
sure.
But then there's compensation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. Thing. Well, either way.
Day 3 pick.
That's about right.
There we go.
And, there's not really any question about those 2 getting drafted. Matt, sounds like you have looked at tons of 7th round mocks of guys who might also
I burned up a lot of time on billable hours looking this up today. Yes.
Best kind of hours.
No one tell my boss. No, this was 7 mock drafts that I looked at. And actually, if I can count correctly, check that, 6 mock drafts I looked at. 7 round mock drafts. That's where I got the 7 from. But yes, Jaden Reed, he went a perfect 6 for 6 in all of these mock drafts, just like you talked about. Dane Brugler of The Athletic. All right, 93 to Carolina. That's the highest that any mock draft that I saw has him going. That's in the 3rd round. Sporting News also has him in the 3rd round to the 49ers. NFL.com, 110 to the Falcons. CBS, 123 to the Seahawks. Walter Football, 131 to the Bengals. And then Pro Football Focus, 133 to the Bears. Those last 4 I just named all in the 4th round. Now, Bryce Behringer. That's right. The Athletic, pick 191. That's round number 6 to the Rams. And then Sporting News had him at 213 to the Cardinals. Those are the only 2 of the 6 that I saw that have Bryce Behringer. So the other 4 publications might lack knowing of ball, I think, because he is going to be, from everyone that I've read and talked to, is going to be the number 1 punter off the board here. Now, with that said, there are 3 other Spartans that popped up on mock drafts. Jacob Slade. He showed up in 2 of them. Pro Football Focus has him at pick 153 to the Bucs. That's in the 5th round.
153
for Jacob Slade, a guy that did not get an NFL Combine invite, but also CBS 241. That is a late 7th round pick to the Steelers. Ben Van Sumeren also got a selection for the late 7th round to the 49ers. And then Xavier Henderson, also CBS, threw him some love. 247 to the 49ers, so one of the last comp picks in the 7th round there. So, I mean, of course, that doesn't really mean a surefire thing, but of these 6 mock drafts, I mean, there are 5 Spartans named. Reed showed up in every single one of them, and yeah, I tend to agree with you. I swear I'm not being a homer here. I would assume Bryce Behringer was drafted.
With Bryce, he is the punter 1, P1, I guess the designation. That's usually in most years a 5th, sometimes a 6th. Kind of a realm. Last year we saw 2 guys go in the 4th, actually, with Jordan Stout from Penn State and Jake Camarda from Georgia.
Yep.
So it could be anywhere from that 4 to 7 range. Probably not 4 this year, but Bryce is a guy that has pretty much consensus belief around him that he's the best punter in college football. So it would be stunning to see him not get drafted as well. And speaking of Ben Van Sumeren, Daniel Jeremiah, a few days ago, he kind of shared a sentiment on a podcast of his. Matt Wenzel tweeted out kind of a blurb from Daniel Jeremiah's full statement, and it reads as, quote, he had an unbelievable kind of all-time pro day.
Yes.
He's very much going to get drafted. He'll go somewhere late on day 3, but his workout was enough to get him picked. So DJ does not put out a 7-round mock draft, so there's not an actual data point to go into the collection of data that you had. However, verbally, he has him also getting drafted.
I got the numbers, too, from that pro day. They had at MSU. 42.5-inch vertical and 10-foot 11-inch broad jump. Okay, if he was at the NFL Combine, that would have been, not just amongst the best of the linebackers. That would be the best in those 2 categories. And then also 29 bench reps and then a 4.40 40. Those 2 would have been second fastest amongst all linebackers. So, yeah, when he's saying that he had an all-time pro day, no hyperbole, no exaggeration there. Like, he showed out at MSU's pro day. So, there's going to be at least one front office out there, at least one coaching staff out there that looks at all those numbers and thinks to themselves, like, I'm going to break that horse. Yeah. I'm going to make him into this great NFL player. So, yeah.
And those numbers, not sure about the broad and the bench press, but Nolan Smith, who some have him mocked at 10 to the Eagles, everyone pretty much has him in the teens. He ran a 4.39 40. And that's pretty much the main data point behind, for as an edge rusher, just like Ben. And he's mocked in that range. Yeah. So obviously Ben Van Sumeren doesn't have a lot of what Nolan Smith has.
Sure.
But to the point that you're making, that should definitely be enough to at least get him drafted. If someone like Nolan Smith, that is a primary data point that has him going 10th with very little production on a high snap count. So
yeah,
a lot of these teams, they put a ton of weight into these kind of testing metrics. And he had as good of a testing kind of a day at his MSU Pro Day for sure.
Whether that means, hey, backup linebacker duty in his first year should he make the NFL, or even just special teams. Like you talked last week that how incredible of careers some guys, some very niche guys in the league can make. I mean, before you even know it, sticking around the league for like 8 or 9 years, which is triple the average length of an NFL career. So there's absolutely a spot for Ben Van Sumeren in the league with all those metrics should he land at the right spot. That is what a lot of it is, landing at the right spot as well. Do you mind if I rewind a little bit here?
Yes,
talk about the man of probably the hour on maybe later on Friday, maybe in that late 3rd round Friday, but early on Saturday, Jaden Reed. Of course, we all know Jaden Reed. He's great. I think the world of him. This man is always open. If Peyton Thorne is ever in trouble, whoop! Please, Jaden, catch that ball, and most of the time he did. Also, great return man.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating, though, with this crop of receivers going into this draft. I feel like there's so many guys that have, like, the same body type, the same skill set, and everything. So, like, that is going to just be fascinating where he's going to go from late 3rd round to, like, early 5th round. I don't know. But, like, is there anyone in the NFL that, like, you have a comp for him? Because if I'm putting you on the spot, which I am, I got one at the top of my head. And, like,
you go first.
No, this is a hometown pick right here. I'm going to throw out someone on my Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown? Am I crazy with that? Like, same build. They had the same numbers at the NFL Combine. Of course, Amon-Ra doesn't do much of the return game stuff, but, like, guys that are just, a little undersized, day 3 picks, round 4 picks, that just always seem to get open. Strong work ethic, the full 9 yards. So that's, I don't know. That's
I didn't watch St. Brown's USC tape and kind of what he was as a prospect there, but I think the trajectory, that 3rd, 4th guy that had a lot of production, but for some reason was boxed into that day 2, day 3 kind of a mold, and then comes in and immediately produces, and everyone's thinking, why didn't we have him going higher? I think that trajectory definitely is a good comparison.
Yeah.
In terms of kind of what the experts are saying, I took note of what Dan Brugler at The Athletic kind of wrote about Jaden when he put him in his mock draft. Or actually, I should say his big board. His big board had him 80. I believe you said in the mock he was early 90s. 93, yeah. And obviously that discrepancy is because a lot of offensive tackles and edge rushers get slotted above where they should be going in the mock, but not in the big board. So here's what Dane had to say about Jaden Reed. Reed has outstanding foot quickness and skillfully throttles his route speed to separate from coverage. Despite dropping too many easy ones, his focus is heightened on contested windows, and he shows a knack for timing his leaps and snatching the football off the helmets of defensive backs. Overall, Reed may have a tougher time overcoming his slight size versus NFL defensive backs, but his speed, route tempo, and downfield ball skills are the ingredients of potential NFL playmaker. With a few technical tweaks to his game, he has NFL starting ability, slot and outside, and adds value as a return man.
See?
You have those boxes that you're checking, outside and inside. That's huge when it comes to drafting a receiver early in the draft, because teams don't want to be boxed into a guy only playing in the slot or only playing on the outside.
Yeah.
Especially some of these better teams early in rounds where they have multiple needs, and they don't want a guy that's only checking one of them. So that's huge. Return game. A lot of teams value that once you start getting into that day 3 type of realm.
Yeah.
The main knock that was right there was a few of the easy balls were dropped. That's something that teams are willing to gamble on, and they're going to say that over time with increased concentration, that can be overcame. But catching the contested ones, having the foot quickness, those are skills that you kind of have to be a different receiver for, and he has those. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do there.
Yeah, and also, like, speaking of interesting, I with a capital I, Pro Football Focus having Jacob Slade going into the 5th round.
Yeah.
That was interesting to me because, like, I think very highly of Jacob Slade. I loved watching him at Michigan State, but yeah, like, it's either the other one was CBS had him going in the 7th round, or every other mock draft I saw didn't have him going anywhere.
Yeah.
Undrafted free agent. I assume that he could be a priority undrafted free agent. There's no doubt about that, but all the way up to the 5th round, but hopefully someone sees the vision here, what Jacob Slade can do, whether it's at 3 technique, 5 technique position.
Definitely.
Just
a little bit of versatility. And a general note in terms of like priority free agents versus being a late 7th. I know when Michigan State's draft streak was hanging in the balance, that was a year where people were rooting for somebody to be taken in the late 7th. Yep. But typically, you almost prefer your players to not be taken late in the 7th round. You rather have them pick from a depth chart or a infrastructure or franchise that they think they have a better chance of sticking on the roster of.
Yep.
So as you start to get into like the final 10, 15, 20 picks, it's almost better that those players and their agents are on the phones behind the scenes with a team setting up a prearranged agreement, because that's how these things work. So when the draft ends and immediately you see all these reports on Twitter of this UDFA and that UDFA sign, they don't start those then. They start those in the 7th round, and the agents are kind of saying, hey, if we don't get drafted, will you want to sign my client? And those are all set up behind the scenes. So that is a much more preferred path for some of these guys like Slade and Ben Van Sumeren and these guys. So obviously if they get drafted like in the 5th round, like that one,
that plays.
6 also works.
That's great.
Early 7th as well, but
yeah,
late in that 10-15, it's fine if they don't get picked.
You do the selecting, not the other way around. Yeah. That's right. You spin the draft on its head, and you are the one drafting a team, not the other way around. So speaking of undrafted free agents, I know you got a few names jotted down here. Do you want me to hijack that, or do you just want
please hijack.
Oh, God, that's a lot of pressure here. Daniel Barker, that goes without saying that he's a name that's probably going to be selected early after the draft wraps up. He's going to be one of those early reports, I believe, for undrafted free agents. Jarrett Horst on there as well. And if I'm missing anyone, please embarrass me and call me out on that.
No, definitely. That sums it up. I think Jarrett Broussard is somewhere in there, but that's not as much of a UDFA. That might be more of a camp body sort of a scenario.
Yeah.
Same with Horst. I think if you're kind of putting it in tiers of that undrafted category, there's the Xavier Henderson, the Jarrett Horst, the Jarrett Broussard types that are not showing up in the big board, top 300 kind of big board range. Kendall Brooks also in that range. So like those are some guys that they will probably make a 90-man roster, but they'll probably be in that first cut sort of range unless they really surprise. But then there's that UDFA range that we're talking about with Ben Van Sumeren and Jacob Slade. Those guys are going to be the calls right after the draft. So pretty much all these guys that played at Michigan State this past year that are leaving, all of them should at least be camp bodies. But I think Daniel Barker is where you draw the line of these are going to be the guys that are the UDFAs that might go quickly in the next day or two after the draft.
And you can still make a fine career as a UDFA.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you're UDFA doesn't mean it's all over. Like, look at Andrew Dowell for the Saints. I mean, he's going on, God, I've lost track of how long he's been in the league for.
Yeah.
3-4 years. Too. I mean, it's been.
So re-signed again this past
Re-signed again, so look at him go. Yeah, so that's not the end-all be-all.
And Reed Blankenship from Middle Tennessee State, UDFA last year, started in the Super Bowl for the Eagles on a very healthy unit.
Okay.
And it's what you make of it.
Can happen. Should we go one draft to another?
Let's go to the other draft.
Just on Sunday night, that was the deadline where everyone can put their name in for the NBA draft. In Michigan State, just one kid, just Jaden Akins. Or was it just one player? As it broke late on Tuesday, A man by the name of AJ Hoguard slipped his name in. That's right, no statement from Izzo, no statement from AJ Hoguard when this happened on Sunday night. But yeah, they just slid that under the door as the deadline was closing. And yeah, AJ Hoguard is also in the NBA draft. Came out with a statement on Wednesday. Long story short, hey, love Michigan State. It's been a great time here.
Right.
I'm also keeping my eligibility though, just like Jaden Akins. DEFCON 2, should we be panicking? Should I be like liquidating all my assets? Should I be in the bunker right now? How much should we panic that these guys are in the NBA draft, Justin?
Yeah, so with the two statements that you saw there, Akins and Hoguard, they had different tones in their statement. Akins was a lot more of talking about how special MSU can be next year.
Yeah.
Hogarth's was more of just the copy and paste what you see pretty much everybody posts out there.
Correct. Yeah.
So if a fan saw Jaden Akins' and thought that's what all the statements should look like, then they saw AJ's, that person might be panicking. But really, both of them are there's not really anything notable for me there. Akins was abnormal in terms of how pro MSU it was. Hogarth's was just standard. It wasn't anything alarming. That was just how all of them are pretty much written, as they talk about the NBA as this ultimate prize, and that's what most of the content in the statement is about, and that's what it is, and they say they're maintaining eligibility. So from the statements, no, there's not really anything there notable to me in terms of being alarmed. In terms of actual draft stock, I think someone like Jaden Akins with his shooting percentage, and if an NFL team has the NBA team has the confidence to say, hey, you can be projected to be more of a ball handler, we can project those skills upon you, and we think you can be a good shooting guard, you might be a late second or a UDFA type of guy. I can see him maybe going, but right now I'm thinking both of those guys are probably coming back. AJ, I would be surprised if there's any sort of dialogue there beyond just, hey, these are some things you can work on. Good luck at Michigan State again. So that's kind of how I look at it. What about you, Matt?
Oh, just go along with that. The big thing to keep our eyes on is that NBA Combine invite.
Right.
I mean, Max Christie got his last year. I believe there was 64. I might be on or off by a few numbers there, but it's
right.
You know, there's a lot of kids that get invited, but if you're not invited to that, like I think more times than not, a lot more times than not, it's probably a good idea to just go back to college, learn under the tutelage of a Hall of Fame head coach, which East Lansing has one of those, so that could help here. Of course, there is that 2-day G League camp as well. We'll see if anything comes to that, if that sways anyone's mind. But yeah, that's mid-May, and then at the very end of the month, May 30th, is when these guys have to pull their names out and then return back to college, hopefully. So fingers crossed there. But yeah, no, you're bang on with the statements. I mean, Akins showed a lot of, and you know what? The other psychological thing with Akins too, I think in the back of a lot of our heads was like, he could also transfer.
Right.
Like, oh man. So the fact that he was just like so pro MSU, like that was a massive sign of relief. Like, oh, thank God. Okay. It looks like it's all going to be okay, either the NBA or just MSU. Whereas like AJ Hoguard, like, yeah, it looked like he just went onto Chat GPT or whatever and just said, like, write me I'm going to the draft and maintaining an eligibility announcement, and this is just what it spat out. Like, it's, like, I can't lie. I was a little freaked out when I first read the message. I'm like, oh my God, like, he had a good time at Michigan State. Oh my God, Izzo is a good, and then I read it twice. And then the second time I was like, oh, this is what a normal, rational person should be reading it like. And so I think it's going to be okay. With that said, love to jinx things all the time, every day. Let's say AJ Hoguard leaves, Justin. DEFCON 3, DEFCON 2? Like, what are we looking at here now? Is it panic button? Should we be preparing for the NIT next season?
That is a good question, Matt.
Thank you.
I think the NIT will be reserved for a different team in the state of Michigan, but I think in terms of the Michigan State rotation, Jeremy Fears, I think, would slide into that starting point guard role. I think he would play less minutes per game, obviously, than AJ did this past season. So a lot of those minutes in relief will be shifted to Tyson probably being the primary point guard on the floor. Jaden Akins would then get the ability to have more of that ball handling kind of responsibility that we know he likes. So I think that's kind of what you would see, is Fears would come in and take a good amount of Hogarth's minutes, but not as much. Obviously, he's a true freshman starting in the Big Ten. And it might not be smooth sailing at first, but I think by the time March comes around, shouldn't be too much of an issue. I don't think that impacts MSU's ceiling a ton. I do think the floor is a little lower just because you might lose some early season games and your seeding might be lower. But I think the ceiling is still the ceiling. Your best players are going to be Akins and Walker in that scenario. You're going to have a 5-star in Xavier Booker, a returning 5th-year in Malik Hall. You're going to have more depth than you've ever had. I think the team is still going to be a top 6-ish team either way.
Okay.
Now, if you look at the other scenario of Akins leaves, AJ comes back, I think this team is going to be more stable than some are thinking because Cohen Carr is going to provide a very different element that Michigan State doesn't have right now that even Akins can't provide. However, the increased stability I'm talking about is the flow of the offense, the ball in your senior point guard's hands. Right. I think that's kind of going to be more of a more of a solid factor of what you're getting from your team every single day, as opposed to true freshmen like Fierce having all those minutes. Shooting, though, would be a concern in that scenario. So that is where part of me would kind of say, hey, on a random March 23rd, Thursday night, Sweet 16 game, Tyson Walker's really your only real reliable three-point shooter. Could you have an early exit because Akins didn't come back? That's where I think the ceiling could be a little lower. But all in all, the team losing one out of these two guys shouldn't change a ton. But there are some variables there in terms of what each of them bring.
No, that's well said. Because, hey, Jaden, I know you're listening. AJ never misses a show. Let's not get that twist. Please come back. I'm begging you to come back. You'd make a lot of people happy if you came back. With that said, though, the plan B, if either should leave, it is a lot better here than it would be in a lot of other circumstances, right. A lot of other programs. You lose a senior point guard, holy crap, that could decimate a season. But the fact that you could back it up with, Trey Holloman, he showed some good flashes last year. Or, the McDonald's All-American point guard. Okay, there will be a drop-off. Let's not get it twisted here, but, it might not be as steep as it could be.
Yeah,
same goes with Akins, too, with Cohen Carr spelling him and everything like that. So, but, again, I want to hammer this into the ground. Please. Please come back. Please. Thank you. All right, thanks. All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
Just had to get that out there.
Yeah. If they come back, credit you.
Hey, finally do one thing right around here. All right, there we go, baby. Not the only basketball note that we're going to talk about here, because there was some big, massive, earth-shattering news coming from the Big Ten offices. Hey, we got opponents next year. It's not a schedule next year for the 2023-24 season, but I got to give a massive, massive shout-out to the creative team at Michigan State basketball, because this is just such a simple and clean edit. You see a lot of teams put way too much dip on their chip with just these simple graphics, but even an idiot like me can read this with no confusion. This is all great. So as you can see on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, or if you're just listening, the home-only games, we're going to face these teams just once, but it's going to be at Breslin Center. It's Iowa, it's Ohio State, it's Rutgers, and then the away-only, yes, we face these three teams just once, and it's going to be at their home gym. It's Mackey Arena and Purdue. It's Assembly Hall in Indiana, and it's whatever Nebraska calls their stadium next year, and, Nebraska. And then the home and homes, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, Michigan, Illinois, Penn State, and on Wisconsin. So there you have it. Let's start with the good news, JT. What do you like about that? When you see that, what's putting a smile on that face of yours?
I think it's the fact that Michigan State doesn't have to go to the rack.
Okay.
And I think it's also that Michigan State doesn't have to go to the house that Joey Brunk built.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so no more standing ovations because the 6th-year grad transfer red shirt walk-on is dominating in the second half. So I guess Carver Hawkeye, just because Fran McCaffrey seems to yell a little extra when he's over there. So those three being the home onlys, I think is a good sign for sure.
My favorite is that third one you mentioned, Iowa. After what happened last year, I can go until 2031 without stepping foot inside of there. Look, I know the rest of the season was fine. In the grand scheme of things, it didn't cost us a whole lot. But that loss is still living rent free inside my head. But yeah, so it goes without saying that. Look, there might be some things that we don't like, and no one in the Big Ten is getting a perfect schedule handed to them, right? Everyone's going to have something to complain about, and that's what we're here for, to complain a little bit. Just playing Purdue once is just a bummer on the surface, right? I mean, because they're going to be the second best team in the Big Ten behind Michigan State. The fact that one time is at a place MSU has not won at since 2014 makes me sad, makes me angry, makes me scared. I'm not going to lie. I'm scared of Mackey Arena. That's a loud place. That is MSU's personal house of horrors, man. I mean, so it's that. And then also, look, Indiana, they'll be okay next year. I actually peeked at Joe Lenardi's bracketology because what person doesn't do that in late April? He has Indiana as the first team out. So they're not going to be, as it stands right now, an extraordinary team. Of course, there's still transfer portal stuff to go through and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
but
more guys for them to miss on that they were supposed to land.
That's the thing. Yeah, they are swinging and they are missing. They are Javi Baez of the Big Ten. That's right. You like that? But with that said, even a mediocre Indiana team inside the walls of Assembly Hall, like, I'm not all too thrilled about that either, but that's really all that I got to complain about. Yeah. Nebraska, they'll be fine next year. They could be a sneaky NCAA tournament team next year, but look, I mean, we just faced them on their senior day, spotting them 12 points at halftime and had no problem there. So you're going to have to really prove it to me why I should be scared of you, Nebraska.
Right.
I just don't have it in me right now. So that's
fair.
Where I'm at.
Yeah. As much as we like Big Red Fred, I think it's premature to be.
I do like Nebraska. I do like them. I just don't really respect them.
Right. Yeah. They're not lethal enough to be trembling over them in late April.
Right. Yeah. I'm rooting for them. You know?
Yeah. But no, it'll be an interesting season. I think. You can't really give any record predictions or anything like that, but just giving this a quick once over, it's the at Purdue game is scary, and other than that, maybe at Indiana, and then I'm sure you're going to drop a gimme or two, but I don't see how 16-4 or better isn't the immediate takeaway here, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at 2 games against Minnesota, 2 games against Northwestern, 2 games against Michigan, 2 games against Penn State, like, that this isn't just me putting on my troll hat and saying, like, oh, these teams suck. Like, no, the metrics say that those are the bottom 4 Big Ten teams. Again, as it stands right now, there's a lot of offseason left to go, but the fact that you get those 4 teams twice, I mean, and none of those guys necessarily have, decimating home court advantage at their place, like Minnesota. The barn's quirky. Mm-hmm. You can win there. Northwestern, you can win there. Michigan, go ahead and clip this and have it as a receipt if things go south, but, like, you can win there. Look, Penn State is just Penn State. There's more people in the studio right now than there are at Penn State home basketball games. So that
more people in the studio than they have on their roster right now as well.
That seems to be a problem.
They're getting a few good guys though. They got Puff Johnson today.
That's an all-name team guy.
Yeah.
Puff Johnson, I love that. Okay.
Then they got Ace Baldwin 2 weeks ago.
You're making things up now. These are made up names now. I feel like this is like a Jimmy Kimmel bit where you're just trying to pull a fast one on me, and it's working. But wow,
only guy they need now is Smoke Monday.
Smoke Monday, sure. Storm Duck, where's he at?
Storm Duck committed today.
Did he really?
To an SEC school.
Okay. He's football, right?
Yeah.
Not important. Get him on the
corner.
Penn State's basketball team. Not important. All right, there we go. Perfect. All right. Well, good luck to you. Not Micah Shrewsbury. I got no idea who their coach is.
Mike Rhodes from VCU.
I'll take your word. Oh, duh. Yeah. Sorry. That's on me. Coach Rhodes, I apologize. That's, I went a little too far with the disrespect there.
He's going to close this stream right now because you forgot his name.
He's marking MSU on a big red circle on his calendar, being like, just to mother F that guy, we're going to really turn the Jets on when we play the Spartans. So, yeah, that's your scheduling roundup. Well, scheduling kind of. Like, there's no real hard dates for these games yet. I mean, it is what it is. That's your somewhat loose schedule update. As much excitement as there can be for basketball scheduling in late April.
Right.
That's a good way to put it. There we go. Nailed it. Are you going to take us to recruiting church right now?
That appears to be the plan.
Please, because I need this in my life.
Sounds like a plan.
Do you have good news?
Yeah. Official visits are coming next month. Okay. We are about 35 days away from the start of that. The first official weekend of June is obviously the first weekend, so that's looking at about June 2nd. Michigan State is starting to get some of these visits locked in, and we're starting to get them reported as well. One of the main names that kind of came to mind that we wanted to check in with after his unofficial visit, it was 4-star linebacker from Cal Poly out in California. Top 150 kid, offers from USC, Oregon, Notre Dame, the whole slate basically, and that is Dylan Williams. He locked in his Michigan State visit as his first official visit out of any of them, and he spoke very, very glowingly in his post-visit quotes, talked about how he was surprised by how much he liked Michigan State and how he was guaranteed to come back, and then he soon after went ahead and did schedule that visit. So that is a top target that we're all looking at right about now. Then the other name that was added 2 or 3 days ago That is a new offeree, Syer Torrance.
Okay.
He's not ranked ridiculously high. I think he is an 86 or an 87, so nothing too bad. But he's a guy that Jim Salgado, the new corners coach, went and saw on his first day on the road and offered him while being there. And you kind of look at his tape. This guy's recruited by some as a wide receiver, has great ball skills, hits people. He has great size, great measurables, toughness, explodes to the ball. He's a guy that kind of shows you, all right, Salgado knows what he's looking for in recruits. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that doesn't have many offers. He committed to Syracuse back in November. He's from New York.
Gotcha.
So nobody really recruited the kid after that. They thought, all right, it's a done deal. He's staying home. That's the school.
Sure.
Salgado found this guy way after he had gotten his most recent offer, identified him, and offered him. So that's just a tiny, tiny takeaway that to me speaks a lot about what kind of a talent evaluator he is and how he goes about his work. So those are two official visits that we got confirmed here in the last few days. Tons more coming here in the near future, but I think it's going to be an interesting time this year. Last year, there was a lot of big fish. I'm sure there will be some of those as well this year, but I think I'm starting to get a little more excited by the philosophy of the official visits this year in terms of it being a higher skew of those more feasible guys than last year. And I don't blame them. They wanted to go ahead. They wanted to try to hit their home runs. They were coming off an 11-2 season, so why not shoot for the moon?
Yeah.
And they did land a top 25 class because of that philosophy. Just didn't have as many of the depth guys towards the end of the class. And I think this year it's a more holistic approach, a lot of attainable guys. And it's refreshing, and I'm excited to get these reported, and I'm excited to see who comes up in June.
Are any of those attainable, gettable guys, in your opinion, out of Saline High School? 4-star tight end Dylan Messman, who dropped his top 5 earlier today. He said he's going to commit in 48 hours. That would be Friday, and it is going to be between the top 5 of Auburn, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Louisville, and Justin, you wouldn't believe it, Michigan State. They're in the top 5 as well. There's one crystal ball in for him right now. This would be from your colleague, Corey Robinson. This was made all the way back in August. Justin, do you have a pulse on this at all, or is this as good of a guess as anyone's?
I think this is more murky than a lot of us had thought it would be at this point in time. A lot of the schools that Messman had visited throughout his recruitment are no longer in the picture. There seems to be a shifting of, I guess, priorities on his end and from the school's end. Michigan State has continued to recruit him. They've continued to host him. But it remains to be seen exactly, I guess, how many of the schools that are currently recruiting him are prioritizing him. And even to some extent, how much of it Michigan State is also kind of in that boat as well. But I think right now with what we know 48 hours away, I think it's a scenario where if Michigan State does indeed want him and has indeed prioritized him, if that is to be the case, I think they are in the driver's seat there. So we're going to continue to keep digging over the next 48 hours, hitting all the different people that we can. I know myself and Corey are going to be digging into that as well, Alan True. So those are going to be kind of a refreshing sort of a new recruitment where it's not a lock going into the final 48 hours. So,
odd, bizarre.
Yeah,
right.
So that'll be interesting to see. So we'll have to see from Michigan State's end and from Messman's end kind of what they think about that recruitment.
Sure, there we go. And that wraps up Justin's recruiting roundup, right?
Indeed it does.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. Excellent. Are you ready to be put in the hot seat, though?
Actually, Matt.
Oh!
Koa Pete, 5-star offeree, basketball, down in Arizona. Brother of Cassius Pete, who was at Michigan State for a couple years.
That's right.
Yeah, back in the mid-2010s.
Yep.
Michigan State and the staff was out in Arizona this whole week to obviously evaluate for the EYBL circuit, but also watching Matt Ishbia's sons.
Sure.
So no doubt that they probably stopped by Koa's school. And he is the number 3 player in the entire nation in 2025. So
God, that'd be awesome.
it is hard to overstate how talented he is.
Oh, yeah.
And Michigan State is going to be a big fixture in that recruitment. And he is quite the player. So
excellent. I love that Matt Ishbia bought the Phoenix Suns just to be close to Koa Pete. That is 8D backgammon right there. Everyone else is playing checkers. Not old Matt Ishbia. No way. No, sirree. So,
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. It's a good call.
I think that better be Michigan State's main selling point is Ish chose the Suns because of you, Koa.
God, how can you say no after that?
Yeah, I agree.
Just straight for the guilt trip. I like that. Pull out all the stops for this number 3 kid in the nation for 2025. Love it. Absolutely love it. Do you know what else I love, Justin? 2 are facts, 1 is whack. 2 are facts, 1 is whack. Folks, if this is your first episode watching, well, welcome. You've joined at a pretty good show. I think we're doing a decent job so far.
I would say so.
We'll see.
Decent.
I don't know. We'll let
and for those that are joining now for the first time and they haven't seen this segment before, let the record reflect I'm 12-0
Yep.
at this game.
Yep. Because it's easy. I give 3 statements. 2 are facts, 1 of them is whack. And Justin,
I'm 3-9.
he tries his best.
That is the real record.
He tries his best. So here we go. Are you ready to play 2 are facts, 1 is whack?
I guess if I have to.
The theme for this week is Spartans in the NFL Draft, Mr. Thin.
Okay.
So here we go. Statement number 1. If Bryce Behringer gets drafted, it would break a 30-year punter draft drought for MSU.
Okay.
If Bryce Behringer gets drafted, it would break a 30-year punter draft drought for MSU. Statement number 2. Since 2013, defensive back has been the most drafted position out of Michigan State. That would be the last 10 drafts. Also, I want to add this. Offensive linemen, all the same. So if you're a tackle or a center, you're just all there. Defensive line, the same. Defensive back, the same. So, like, we're not going to split hairs over, like, safety versus cornerback or defensive end versus tackle. So
makes sense.
There you have it. So statement number 2, since 2013, defensive back has been the most drafted position out of Michigan State. Statement number 3, no one has drafted more MSU players than Minnesota and Pittsburgh in the last 10 drafts. That would be since 2013. Again, no one has drafted more MSU players than Minnesota and Pittsburgh in the last 10 drafts. Which one was whack of those 3 statements?
Middle one's true.
That was quick. Okay. Wow. Here we go.
I hope. We'll find out. But the last one's interesting because I believe Shakur Brown was drafted by Pittsburgh, but maybe he was drafted by somebody else and then he signed with Pittsburgh. Or no, he was a UDFA, I believe. Okay, I'm all screwed up on that one. But putting that aside, they got Connor Hayward. They got Connor Hayward on the Steelers. That was a draft pick.
Sure. That was a draft pick.
Right. The Vikings had Jalen Naylor. That was a draft pick.
Sure. That was a draft pick.
Obviously, Kirk started his career with the Commanders.
Sure.
So that does not count.
It's very astute of you.
Only real ball knowers remember that. Kirk Cousins football.
TBKs know that. True ball knowers. You know it. Yep. That's it.
The first one I have no idea. So it's really just whether I believe the third to be true or not.
Sure.
And then the process of elimination will lead the first one to the answer.
Yeah. You got this.
I'm thinking that I cannot name a team that has drafted 2 Spartans in the last 10 years.
Okay.
So that kind of leads me to believe that. All right, so can you read the exact wording of the third one again?
Yeah, of course. No one has drafted more MSU players than Minnesota and Pittsburgh in the last 10 NFL drafts. No one has drafted more MSU players than Minnesota, home of the Vikings, and Pittsburgh, home of the Steelers, in the last 10 drafts. You got this. Which one was whack?
I'm going to say that one is whack, just because I don't know the number, but I'm guessing there has to be a team that has drafted more than... Yeah, let's lock that in.
How sure are you about that? Do you want to unlock that, Gus? Shoot. God dang it. I root for you. You're like Nebraska basketball. Like, I want to see you lose, but like at the same time, I'm rooting for you. Like I'm pulling for you. Statement number 1 was whack, Justin. This would not break a 30-year punter draft drought. In 2007, that's the last time a punter was drafted from Michigan State. It was Brandon Fields, went to Miami in the 7th round, so that is not a 30-year drought.
That doesn't count. I was 9 when that happened.
It's not my fault you're 9. I'm just throwing that out there. We were all 9 at some point, and when we were all 9, we all knew who was punting for our college football team and whether they were drafted or not. The first true statement, since 2013, defensive back has been the most drafted position out of Michigan State. Do you have a guess how many defensive backs have been drafted in the last 10 drafts out of Michigan State? Do you have a guess? Because this surprised me, but it obviously makes sense after reading the names.
Let's go with 8.
6,
Ooh.
which is still pretty good. Darqueze Dennard, Trey Waynes, Montae Nicholson, Justin Lane, Kari Willis, and Josiah Scott are the 6 defensive backs. There's been 4 defensive linemen, 4 offensive linemen, and 4 wide receivers also in that same span as well. And then the last statement, no one has drafted more MSU players in Minnesota and Pittsburgh in the last 10 drafts. Both.
Oh, I forgot Justin Lane.
Yeah, both the Vikings and the Steelers have drafted 3 Spartans in the last 10 years. Minnesota drafted Trey Waynes, Kenny Willekes, Jalen Naylor, Pitt, Justin Lane, Connor Hayward, and then this just sneaks inside the 10-year window. Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, that was
Le'Veon
10 years
Bell.
ago?
That was 10 years ago. I would have thought that would just be outside the window, but no, he was that 2013 draft. So
yeah, because that was, I didn't say it out loud, but that was in my head. I immediately dismissed that. Like, that was too long ago.
Yep.
So I'm thinking post Le'Veon, how many people
just got in there. So thank you very much. Good sir.
3 and 10.
Yeah.
3 and 10. Tanking for Victor W.
You're due for a breakout. Speaking of breaking out, you know who's been breaking out over in East Lansing? A lot of the fine players on the Michigan State baseball team, but one of them is going to be our Spartan Dog of the Week, and it's not me. It's not you that's going to read it out. It's going to be our guy, the producer, the man that does it all. Look at that handsome face. Look at him. The hardest working man in East Lansing. Owen,
he really
let's go.
Is. Hardest working man in East Lansing.
Yep.
I tried, but you hit the, I guess, baseball right in the knob. Brock Vredenberg is Brock Vredenberg has been unreal. Like I talked about yesterday when I was play-by-play for MSU and Notre Dame, which ultimately Michigan State was able to take that one. They were able to sweep Notre Dame as well. They only had a home and home against them, but a big victory that they needed. And then on Sunday, they also took down Michigan 12-2. So a couple of big victories there. But on Sunday as well, Brock Vredenberg had 2 home runs, 5 RBIs to put his now total at, for the season, 10 home runs, 50 RBIs. He's slugging .771. You look at the average, 431. Like, if you don't know baseball, I'll tell you right now, it's a college season, so it's already short.
Right.
It's 38 games. So if you really want to do the math and put it into like a major league season, that's a really good total that he's got. So he's a 6'7", 220-plus kind of guy, first baseman. I mean, if I'm an MLB team, I'm looking at this kid because he can pretty much do it all. And, I mean, for Michigan State baseball, their hitting has been unreal up and down the entire lineup. Mitch Jebb, Trent Farquhar, Jack Frank, Casey Mays. Like, literally everyone on the field can hit. So that's why they've been a lot of fun. They give up a lot of runs as well for pitching, but their hitting has really kept them in the Big Ten season. They got a big Northwestern series coming up, so we'll have to see how they handle that.
It's 6'7", 220-ish. Like, does he want to be like our 15th tight end like, in the fall? Does he have any interest or no?
Yeah, I mean, he's 6'7", 230, but funny enough, Adam Burkhorse, I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, of course.
He used to play football, and then when he got hurt last year, decided just to stick with baseball, which was a smart decision.
Yeah, sure.
He's also like 6'7", 230, so he's a big dude as well. So we got actually a lot of dudes on the baseball team that have that build that could play other sports as well.
Right.
Man, that's awesome.
That's 6'7".
Those are crazy numbers, though. Like,
O'Neal Cruz out here, first base person,
raking out there. Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
wow.
Owen.
That average is unreal.
No, that's unbelievable. That's a lot of good numbers.
I can't believe it. I mean, like I said it yesterday, but it seems like obviously baseball is such a hot and cold streak kind of thing where you'll go on that cold streak. Dude just hasn't ever hit it like this entire year, which is unreal. He's leading the Big Ten in batting average. Like that's insane. He's played like every game. So
yeah. I'm sure someone will take a flyer on him. I don't never watched the tape. Like I don't know how he hits sliders away or what his swing path is like or the exit velo. But you're hitting 431. You figured something out.
Doing something right.
And you could probably hit most of the pitches that they're being thrown your way.
I'd say so.
Yeah. I mean, he had another. I believe it was 2 hits yesterday, 3 runs. Like, dude does it all. Like he doesn't get out. I don't know how you would pitch to him, honestly. You don't pitch to him.
Yeah, it's time to start going 2007 Ryan Howard and just intentional walk him every single time.
Yeah. I mean, some teams do. They have intentionally walked him. So, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. Checks out.
Well, great update.
Appreciate that, man. You're the best. Spartan Dog of the Week. Let's go. Over into the baseball program. I got a segment that we haven't done, I don't think, ever. But you know what? At least a good conversation. Hopefully. I don't know. We're about to find out here. But it's just fill in the blank. It's easy. It's simple. I'm just going to ask you a question. I'm going to have you fill in the blank. It doesn't take too much to figure out.
Sounds like a plan.
Xavier Tillman and Jaron Jackson Jr. being on the Grizzlies makes you feel blank. Of course, this could go outside of just them. Of course, we're proud of our Spartans. They're in the NBA playoffs, but my God, are they just playing for the most hateable team that I've seen in my entire life? And not for fun reasons either. The Warriors, I hate them because they're so good and they always win. Nope, that's not the Grizzlies' problem. Right, that's not their issue.
Yeah. See, I was trying to think of a word that encapsulates that sort of juxtaposition between how much I want to root for these two and how much I want to root for the downfall of Dylan Brooks.
Correct. Yep.
So I'll keep thinking of the word, but just imagine if these two guys went somewhere like San Antonio. They're just playing for Coach Pop. It is just all business.
Yep.
None of the Dylan Brooks nonsense.
Yeah.
It's just hooping.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
Or if Dylan Brooks at least just backed up what he said, instead of just sack tapping LeBron. How about
and then just say he's not available for media.
And then yet never available for the media. And then, after labeling himself, literally giving himself the nickname Dylan the Villain, a few months later then being I don't know why everyone's making me the villain. Gee, Dylan, who could have ever done this to you other than yourself? But yet, I never in my entire life thought that I could possibly root against a playoff team with a Spartan on it, let alone two Spartans, especially when that team is playing against LeBron James. Look, I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan. I used to hate him with every fiber of my being, and then he won that title with the Cavs. I was I'm wasting my time hating him. This is greatness. I got to respect him. But, still, I'm not the biggest fan. Do you know how much of a PRICK you gotta be for me to root against two Spartans and root for LeBron James? Well, that's what you get with the whole Memphis Grizzlies team. They couldn't have gone anywhere else. Or Dylan. Hopefully they're gonna ship Dylan to Lithuania or Qatar in the offseason.
Yeah, no, he'll be on the Shanghai Sharks in 2 years.
Yeah, just
he'll be part of the next match fixing scandal over there.
So. Okay, I'm glad we're aligned there because it makes me feel filthy. I feel like I got to take a shower saying I'm openly rooting against Xavier Tillman and Jaron Jackson, but it makes me sick to my stomach to say out loud. But I draw the line somewhere, and it's being the worst sports villain that I've ever been alive for my entire life.
And it was the shortest stint anyone's ever had as a villain.
2 seconds.
He thought he was Draymond, and in 6 weeks, the man went from absolutely just needling people to being a laughing stock.
Yeah.
And just the shortest timeline.
And I know this goes above Dylan. There are 5 people on a basketball court, but you cannot cut WWE wrestling promos and saying oh, LeBron's washed up. He didn't give me 40. I don't respect him. And then the very next quarter of basketball, have your team score 9 points.
Yes.
Under any circumstance, can you do that?
Right.
No. You can't. I just despise them.
After his own comments, he himself seemed to be the most phased and just bewildered looking individual on the court the next game. How are you going to incite all of this chaos and then melt the second you step on the court next after you've incited this?
The nerve. Again, this isn't we're talking about LeBron back in the day where I'm just hating on him because he just wins and I'm sick of him. No, it's the complete opposite. I would respect the hell out of Dylan Brooks if he talked this way and then backed it up, but it is the complete opposite. He's just going and running behind mom's legs after, just being no, take care of him. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. Speaking of the opposite of what you would have thought.
Okay.
A dynasty like the Warriors.
Yeah.
Typically, that's not a team that I would like to see continue having success.
Yeah.
This Warriors team, though, I can't I watch them every time they're on.
Yeah,
they're homegrown guys. All of them pretty much. KD was.
There is something to that.
Right.
Yeah.
I get Wiggins was embedded in here, but
sure, but that wasn't a KD thing. I get KD fine. I 100% get the hate there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. And nobody was rooting for him that 1 year anyway.
Yeah, but that's just one title.
Yeah, exactly.
They have 3 more other than that.
Exactly.
Still continuing. Yeah, so it's amazing.
Just hope Steph's ankles hold up. Hope Clay keeps shooting. And Draymond, I guess we'll see. His contract ends at the end of this year. We'll see what kind of terms he's looking for and if the Golden State can give it to him. But hope those guys they remain intact for a few more years.
Let's say, and I ask myself this all the time too. Let's say Draymond went to like Clemson or some random Power 5 school. Would you still be all in on the Warriors dynasty for everything that you just said? You know, they are homegrown for the most part, besides that Kevin Durant title.
Probably not.
Okay.
What I would be instead is I would be simply a Steph Curry fan.
Sure. Yeah.
Not to the point where like I like stan him or anything, but just simply hope for his career to continue as long as it possibly can at this level. But yeah, I think you add how much of an entertainment and how much of a great showman Steph is with the obviously the allegiance we have to Draymond, and you add both of them together, that's when the team success element comes in at that point for me.
The Draymond being an MSU Spartan really helps things, but yeah, I still think I would like them.
Yeah,
I mean,
just a fun team.
Because it's a complete opposite of what, sorry to just keep on beating a dead horse here, but the opposite of what Dylan Brooks is. Like, Draymond Green talks a ton. He also backs it up even more, and I love when athletes do that. That's great. So if you can be as cocky as you want, but if you're backing it up, it's not being arrogant; it's just being correct.
Right.
So Draymond Green, he's on the right side of things here. So
we have no word to answer your question, but we had a lot of words.
We feel confused.
Confused. That's a great one.
We feel conflicted. Another CON word. That's our CONF actually. Okay, we're going to head over to college football here. We're going to go to the west side of this beautiful country of ours. We're going to go to Boulder, Colorado. The way Deion Sanders is handling the transfers at Colorado is blank. Now, if you've missed anything, Deion Sanders, there was a little bit of rumors that, a guy or two, or maybe even more, that he sent to the transfer portal, he did not give their practice tape to. And, of course, that practice tape is used for these athletes to reach out to other schools, being like, hey, this is what I can do on a football field. So Deion wasn't giving that film to his kids after ousting, 96 kids seemingly out of his program. And then also he had the quote today on the McAfee show. It was, hey, if I'm going to move beautiful furniture into this house, I got to get rid of the old tattered stuff or something like that. It's like, okay, like Deion, we get it. Now, like, we understand that you think the players are trash, and they are. They went 1-11 last year. Like, maybe, God, and now I'm just old guy yelling at cloud. You can handle it with a little more.
Yes.
What's the word? Decorum.
Yes.
It's a big word, but yeah, like you can handle it nicer. But anyway, the question was for you. The way Deion is handling the transfers at Colorado is blank.
An overkill.
I like that a lot, actually.
I think,
we get it, dude.
Yeah, as you say, they won 1-11.
Yeah.
They pretty much sucked.
Horrible.
However,
they're terrible last year.
However, the beauty in sports, where you have metrics and you have records, and you can point to wins and losses, they can speak for you. You don't have to hit. You don't have to. I don't know the phrase, but on the way out and kicking the door,
it seems that easy.
You get the sentiment.
Yeah, it seems that easy, doesn't it?
You don't have to do that every single time
you
you have a wave of transfers. So
yeah.
And here's the other reason it's an overkill. And I had like a quote tweet on this the other day. There are too many kids leaving. Now, you can make the argument.
It's interesting.
You can make the argument that, hey, when we are 1-11, you should never say that we have too many people leaving because no one can play here.
I'm in that camp.
Right.
I am.
Here's the thing, though, man.
Okay, educate me.
If you have a kid that started all 12 games last year on a 1-11 team, right? Why not simply bring in guys that are better than him?
Yeah.
Using the spots vacated by the guys on the bottom of last year's 1-11 roster and bump that guy down to second team or third team.
Yeah.
They're losing too many guys that were bad players.
Yeah.
And you need bad players on a roster, at least until year 2 and 3. Deion has tried to wipe basically everyone that is not a good player, all from the roster in year 1.
Yeah.
What happens when 6 guys are injured by week 3? Let's say every single kid that leaves that is a starter ends up having a better starter take that spot. Sure, but how is DT5 looking on your roster? And did the guy that just left... right, exactly. So I don't think this needed to all be done in 1 year. I don't see where the depth is going to be coming from.
No, that's you know what, that is a great call. It is. But yeah, I juxtapose it with what happened here in East Lansing when Mel Tucker took over because look, same circumstance. No, not as drastic as 1-11, but still, program wasn't necessarily at the place that a lot of us were accustomed to, or the money that he was paid to make this program.
Right.
He got rid of a lot of kids because he knew that they were not up to snuff to not just play Big Ten football, but a lot of these kids not even Power 5 football. Right. He didn't have to get in front of a radio show. Yes. He didn't have to drop any line in front of a hot camera that said, "Oh, I'm bringing in luggage in and it's all Louis.
Right.
Get out of here." Like he knows, guess what? The players probably know that as
Right.
well. And, like, you're just going to go about the business as nice and as cordially as possible.
Yes.
So, like, yeah, say what you will about Mel Tucker, you know, but, and the whole, everyone was frantic about the transfer portal. Oh, my God,
Right.
everyone's leaving. But, like, no, they had to leave.
Right.
They had to leave if you wanted to play competitive Big Ten football.
Right.
We're still, God, just feeling the repercussions of those late anyway, I'm not going to get into that.
If
you know what I'm
Deion
saying.
had as many people leave as Mel did in year one,
Mm-hmm.
or if Deion simply was less vocal about it, either one of those two things, I think people would have had a very different perception.
Yeah.
But having 60 people leave in one offseason, I don't know.
And then saying, like, oh, and by
Right.
the way, in case all those kids don't feel bad enough,
Yes.
they're trash. I would
Right.
literally rather take that sewer rat on my team
Yes.
than that tight end I just got rid of. Like,
Right.
yeah, that's a little too much
Right.
dip on the chip, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So
Yeah.
one or the other. Like either you can be vocal, which I don't see the need for that if you're a head coach.
There's no need.
But if you're gonna be vocal,
Yeah.
at least like don't have the numbers that obviously back it up, and you still feel the need to be vocal.
Yeah.
Like have a happy medium of departures and do it over 2 years. But he just gutted the whole roster, and I don't know if they're gonna have any depth, but we'll see. We'll find out.
Kicked everyone out of his party and then, like, made sure to light their cars on fire, too, as they left the house. Just really rubbing salt in the wound. So, man, I don't know. Maybe this is just old curmudgeon-y sport talking head that, oh, he's being mean. I'm sorry, like that. It seems a little too much now, just a little too much. So that's what I had to fill in the blank right there. Just wanted to get those two topics because
Yeah.
those have been irking me this week. Just Dylan Brooks and Deion Sanders.
Right.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah. Covered a wide array of topics with those two.
Who gets your goat more, Dylan Brooks or Deion Sanders?
Probably Dylan Brooks
Yeah,
for sure.
100%. It's not even close.
I liked Deion and wanted Deion to succeed until this whole
Yeah, it was
way
fun.
he's gone about this vocally.
And you know, like, look, I could forget about this all, like, maybe in a few months. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, this most recent news cycle.
Right.
And also, if I can just keep going here, the spring game clip of Shedeur Sanders throwing the touchdown pass to Travis Hunter, I'm going tinfoil hat conspiracy that, like, they told ESPN before the game, like, hey, we're going to have this touchdown. We're going to clip this. We're going to post it everywhere to get more excitement around our program. Make sure Chris Fowler really reaches back. Because there wasn't a defensive back within 20 yards of Travis Hunter when that ball was snapped. I just, like, the whole thing was just fishy to me.
Yeah.
So, anyway, just
And
want to
the
make sure I
defensive
look as
back-
weird as possible before we
And
end
the
the show.
defensive back that was the closest, which was 25 feet away.
Looked like me.
That
Looked like me out there.
That was word for word what I was going to say.
5'7", $160, and just like this. I think I make myself shorter every show that we talk about this. But, like, yeah, dude, like it looked like just some frat brother playing
Right.
defensive back. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Yeah, before we end the show, I just wanted to make sure I sound
Yeah.
like as batty of a conspiracy theorist as possible in saying that, yeah, the Sanders to Travis Hunter spring game touchdown, something seemed a little fishy there to me. So, yeah. Next week, I'll just dump all my conspiracy theories on you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. We'll talk about the moon landing.
Moon landing. Finland's not a country. Yeah. All the good stuff.
I'm not familiar with that line of thinking.
No, I read that on Reddit once, and I was like, yeah, I'm sold.
Reddit.
Blindly sold.
Reddit. Matt, this week? Tomorrow?
Really quick,
Or
yeah.
Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow?
Yeah. Owen's probably screaming at the other end, would you guys just end the show already? But no.
Can't be done.
No.
Wait, did I say the draft is 48 hours away on the onset of the show?
Oh, snap.
It's 24 hours away.
24 hours.
Right. So I'm issuing a retroactive correction there.
Ruh-roh.
But 24
Yeah.
hours from now,
Yeah.
we're going to see the Reddit-fueled Will Levis go number one, allegedly. No, we're probably not going to see that. But for those that missed it,
Good.
2 days ago,
Yeah.
we all went to sleep. Will Levis, the rumors were starting that he's going to go number two. It is what it is. That was crazy in its own regard, and it's probably going to happen. But I made peace with that. Went to sleep knowing all is mostly right in the world. Will Levis is going to go at most number two. I wake up the next morning. The odds have gone from 50 to 1 to 25 to 1 to 10 to 1 to 4 to 1. All while I was sleeping. To Will Levis being the number one overall pick.
Yep.
All because someone posted on Reddit that he had told family members he was expecting to go to Carolina.
Sensational.
There's nothing like this week.
No, dude, that's why I said the
Yeah.
3 best days of the year are maybe the 3 days leading up to the draft. It's incredible.
What do you expect to happen, Matt, in terms of the number two pick? And then I also want to ask you what the lines are going to do. But what do you think is going to happen with that second pick?
Really quick, just because I don't know anything about the draft. No, like, here's, like, I do a lot of reading on the NFL draft, but everything I say is wrong. But, like, so I might as well just go for it.
Same with Mel Kiper.
Anthony Richardson, number 2 to the Texans. Yeah. That's what I'm expecting.
I would rather have that if I'm the Texans than what they're going to do.
1,000%. Yeah. Yep.
What I have seen from the Athletic and their reporting is that their GM Nick Caserio really wants to take a quarterback, and their coaching staff is very anti-quarterback.
Oh, good.
So
great. Awesome.
It appears that Tyree Wilson might be the guy who goes number 2 overall. And it also appears that number 3, Arizona, if they had their pick between Tyree Wilson and Will Anderson, they prefer Tyree Wilson over Will Anderson.
Yeah.
So everything we had known for the first, 95% of the draft cycle, all of it has gone out the window.
It has.
And somehow, some way, Will Anderson, CJ Stroud may not even go top 3.
Oh, CJ Stroud's a day 3 pick now.
Yeah, CJ Stroud's going to be UDFA getting a call after Daniel Barker.
Yes.
Before this new cycle
Pick 198 to the 49ers. CJ Stroud, you are a 49er. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
They're going to find his, 4th grade standardized test, and they're going to bump him down a couple more rounds.
Dude, it's terrible what's happening to him. But really quick before we sign off, I just got to get this out there. Hopefully we can clip this before the show. But okay, took my kid to the park today.
Oh,
elementary school. It was great. We were excited to play in the swings, the slides. He just loves going out there.
Okay.
You know who we saw out there? We saw Tyree Wilson and Will Anderson out there. Tyree holding the gas can, dousing the entire play structure with gasoline, and then Will Anderson striking as many matches as humanly possible, lighting the entire play structure on fire. Can you believe that? That's what I saw with my own 2 eyes. All right, end clip.
Matt, you know what I would do if I saw that?
Both of them just fell to 6 and 18 for
exactly.
lines.
I was going to say, I would see that, and I would say to myself, these guys are not worthy of a top 5 pick.
Correct.
They're worthy of the 6th pick or lower.
That is correct. Yep. And they're just so uncharacteristic off the field. You can't trust them. That maybe even 18 for one of these guys too. I'm just saying. So
it'll be interesting to see what Detroit does. I think you guys are in a good spot.
I'm thrilled.
You guys are in a good spot.
I know. It's God, I love that Stafford trade. It's fun having a top 10 pick and also having a good team.
Yeah,
it's very weird.
The fact that Will Levis, Kentucky Carson Wentz has gotten pushed all the way up this board this high, that only helps Detroit.
Yeah, it does. It does. I'm excited.
It's going to be fun. Yep. Is there anybody in this draft that you just absolutely despise the hype they're getting, or I guess you feel is very under getting praise?
Oh, the guy that we've been talking about the entire time, Will Levis. I just don't understand it.
Right.
I truly don't understand it, which congratulations, Will Levis, on a Hall of Fame career because, dude, my track record with predicting who's going to be good in the NFL at the quarterback position and who's not is like a 1 hit to a 99 miss ratio. It's terrible. Joe Burrow's like the only one I got right, and like who didn't expect this out of Joe Burrow? But I said Zach Wilson was gonna be the best quarterback in his class. When Paxton Lynch got drafted, I said that's the best quarterback in his class. Dude, I'm terrible at quarterback evaluations. So I think Levis is gonna be a bust. So with that said, he's gonna have a ring on his finger here within 5 years.
Yeah. For me, Kalijah Kancey, defensive tackle.
That's a popular name there. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, he's a guy that his arms, I think, are 30-inch arms.
Okay.
For those that don't know, that is allegedly very, very, very short.
Yeah.
It is to the point where there is not a single defensive tackle that has that arm length or shorter that has ever made a Pro Bowl.
Oh, okay.
The only similar kind of comparison that you can recall to somebody like that is, well, people won't even really know this guy, but I think it was a 5th-round pick a few years ago out of Washington, Elijah Qualls. No longer in the league.
Sure.
You're shrugging, so that tells you it's not a great kind of a bucket.
I have no
to
idea
be
what you're
in.
talking about, but yeah.
There used to be some guys like Grady Jarrett and stuff that were in the very, very shorter bucket, and they had some concerns, but they carved out careers, but they were longer. So I hope the Eagles don't pick him at 30. I hope the Eagles don't pick Lucas Van Ness at number 10. I think he's a guy that is 2 years away, and at least the teams that are mocked in that range, they don't need a guy that's going to take 2 years to develop. Not very pro Lucas Van Ness. A few guys that I think that a team would really benefit from having that's very undervalued would be a Brian Branch. Brian Branch is a perfect example of what happens in the draft process. 3 to 4 months ago, Brian Branch, towards the end of the college football season, they were like, oh, the best tackling safety we've ever seen. Statistically, Pro Football Focus said if he was a linebacker, he would be the best tackling linebacker in the PFF era. He's a safety.
Okay.
So everyone was all in on Brian Branch going anywhere from 4 to 12.
Yeah.
Then you fast forward 2 months, Matt, to the combine. He ran a little slow. Suddenly everyone said, oh, he's a 2nd-round pick. Then people thought for 3-4 more weeks. So like, all right, no, we really knocked him down. Let's meet in the middle. He'll go in the 20s. For the same guy that everyone was convinced the last time he played football was anywhere from 4 to 12. So that's how the process goes. I hope the Eagles somehow end up with Brian Branch. That's a guy that's really undervalued. And this is mainstream, but Tyjae Spears, big fan of Tyjae Spears. He has some medical history that allegedly that scouts are saying are concerning. But
medical schmedical.
Yeah, who cares? You don't need to be healthy to play football.
No.
But yeah, so there's going to be some exciting opportunities for some teams to get some day 2 and 3 guys, because even though the top of this draft isn't as good as it usually is, this is a pretty deep class in a lot of positions. Tackle is very thin, defensive tackle, I should say. Corner has a drop off. Safety is not very good at all. Center is low, but every position I didn't name, tight end especially, I know the Lions might need a tight end.
Yep. Dalton Kincaid, let's get it popping.
Edge has a deep draft. Running back, one of the best drafts that there's been in a while.
Yeah, solid.
So it'll be a fun draft. A lot of volatility.
It will. It's going to be a fun next 3 days, man.
Yeah.
So, but, gang.
That does it.
We landed the plane again, Justin. We did it somehow.
Once again.
Turbulent at the end, as always, which is fun. I like it. You need a little turbulence to wake up, you know? It's nice. So, everyone, Owen especially, love you, Owen. You're the greatest producer ever. Thank you so much, all the listeners, the viewers of SD4L. You guys are the best. Let's go have a great week. Let's go enjoy the draft.
Yeah.
Let's get it popping.
That does it.